And hello, I'm live. Yeah. And looking pretty comfortable this morning. Never mind the mess and shit behind me. Yeah, I forget. At this angle, you see everything in my disheveled hovel. Yeah. This is my pile of workout leggings. This is basically all I wear anymore is leggings. And over here, right here, that's my bed. I have been sleeping on the floor for the last year. Yeah. You know, what can I say? I've been sleeping on the floor for the last year. So there you go. And I'm in my camp chair because my other chair gave up the ghost finally. The piston just went out. So I had to pull in the camp chair yesterday, and I've got, like, in order to sit in this thing so that I can actually type, I got to, like, put 2 or 3 pillows on it, and I'm sitting on all these pillows. Oh, gosh. It's a mess. One of these days. So, anything interesting happened this week? Yeah, actually, a whole lot interesting happened this week. And probably one of the most interesting. I won't say it's the most interesting. You know what I'm going to talk about is my most interesting thing. I actually got a job offer. Now, don't get all excited. I had applied a while ago for an online job, and they said after like 2 months, they accepted me. And it's like distributing. Let me see if I'll pull this up. I'll pull the email up and get the actual title. Social media evaluator. Haven't really read the terms and conditions yet, but they offered me this position. It pays $10.80 an hour as a non-negotiable amount, and it's for Lionbridge. Monday through Friday, compulsory work days. They want my start date to be 3/22. Of course, they hire on a rolling basis, and I may or may not actually get the job. It all depends on when I'm able to get a bunch of stuff, but they want me to start by like next Friday, which means I may or may not even have internet then. So we'll see. But it'd be like, I think they originally said it was like 3 hours, 4 hours a day. So we wouldn't be talking like a hell of a lot of money. A little over $200 a week. After taxes, you're probably talking about $50, $150. That's $600 a month. Right now, that's $600 a month coming in I don't have. So I'll take it. And it may only be like for a couple of months. I think what ends up happening is they only manage to hang on to people for like a month or two. So I also talked to a friend of mine who used to be a recruiter, and she gave me some tips on what to put on my resume. Most specifically, she told me what to take off my resume, which I did, and I sent it out to a couple of other places, and kind of hoping maybe that'll trigger something. She pointed out that you should never put like employment or education dates on stuff. Never tell them how long you've been in the biz. And I said, basically, they're going to see that I have at least 20 years of work. And she said, just put those. It was just like 4 companies I've worked for. She says, just put those. Don't put anything else. They'll figure it out. So, still waiting on the eviction notice. I would imagine it's probably going to come. If it does come, it's going to come probably next Wednesday or Thursday, because they'll give me until the end of the month to get out. After which, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And another ticking time bomb I have is I need to get plates for my car in the next 6 weeks, which means I need to get a title. And Jesus, I don't have money for all this stuff. So next month I'm going to be scrambling, and there's always a possibility I'll get plates and my car won't pass safety inspection, and it's going to run like $1,000 to get it fixed, and I'm going to be like, what am I going to do? I don't have $1,000. Start a GoFundMe, fix my car. I still have to fill out my taxes. I know I'm going to owe. I'll tell you. I don't know. Last year at this time, I would have been a screaming, crying mess. I really would have been. Now it's just sort of like, you got to deal with it. So I do. I'm dealing with it as best I can, which doesn't involve slashing my wrist or shit like that. I know. I can joke about that. And speaking of joking about suicide, I know. I'm bad. Last couple of days, I watched Afterlife, which is a Netflix series written, developed, and directed by Ricky. And I always mispronounce his last name, but I believe it's Gervais. Ricky. I can never pronounce his name. Ricky Gervais. Yeah. Who, he's an acquired taste. He really is. I know a lot of people don't like him. And there's certain things that he gets into that I don't care for either. But this series Afterlife, which he, like I said, he wrote and directed it and developed it. It's really good. It's about a guy who loses his wife when he's like in his 40s. Loses his wife to breast cancer. And he's one of these guys that he felt that she was his total soulmate. There's like no other person in the world for him. So he's like in this long, drawn out depression that he can't get out of. And he wants to end it, but he can't. No pun intended, but he just can't pull the trigger. He wants to kill himself, but he can't pull the trigger. So he just ends up being this miserable asshole to everyone. I mean, literally, he is. He's just like this really nasty, shitty person to every person that he encounters. And it's really... I had actually had a friend recommend it. She said she had watched it, and it was nothing like she had expected. And I watched it, and I have never seen a series where 1 minute I'm crying my ass off, and then like 2 seconds later I'm laughing because of what he does. It just goes to those extremes. And he does nail the grief so well in this show. He does. He's extremely deadpan the entire time. And you can tell by watching him, even body language and everything else, the way he talks. This is a guy who really just does not want to be here anymore. But he is. It's got a good cast of characters. One of the characters is someone who he meets at the graveyard. She's about 20 years older than him. Her husband is buried in the plot next to his wife. So a lot of times they'll go there and, they talk to their spouses. And she's played by the woman who played Harriet Jones on MP Harriet Jones, former prime minister also on Doctor Who. And she's really good. The chemistry between them is excellent. She does make the comment toward the end. She says, "I know you want to kill yourself, but you won't." And he's like, "How do you know?" And she goes, "Because you're still here. You obviously love life just a little too much to want to leave." And I mean, I can identify with the character. Like, I've been in that position where you want to end, but you just can't pull the trigger. It doesn't happen. And you don't know what to do to bring about the end. So I highly recommend it. And the nice thing about it is it's 6 episodes long. Each episode is like just under 30 minutes. So you can binge the whole series in under 3 hours. It's like an afternoon. Sort of like the same thing they did with Russian Doll, which I thought was brilliant in that, you go through everything in 3 to 4 hours. Russian Doll was 8 episodes, and each one of them was like, I think the longest was 32 minutes. Most of them were right around the 30-minute mark. And yeah, it does. It makes for some fast-paced storytelling that actually seems like it's a lot longer than 30 minutes. And I think it's a good thing, especially in the instance of Afterlife, because if they had drugged those out to hour-long episodes, it would be kind of intolerable after a while, If there's one complaint I can have, it's that Ricky does tend to fall back on fat humor a little too much. He does throw around that word quite a bit, which is really kind of amusing because there's so many people in the show, especially there's a couple of women, one of whom he gets rather, close to, who are plus size, and Ricky is plus size too. And I think that's one of the reasons why he feels he can joke about it, because like he'll say, well, I'm overweight, so I can kind of joke about it. It stings a little bit, but at the same time, you understand where he's coming from, because this is a guy who's just lashing out at everyone. If there's anything that can be said, it's that he just is a prick. And I wouldn't even say like a prick. He's just like this morose, depressed guy who has no good outlook on life. And he's just being a shitty person. And it does affect everyone around him. So, good episode. I give it a recommendation. Again, it won't be for everyone. Ricky's not for everyone. And the subject matter is kind of touchy. But he really does nail the performance. And given that he writes every episode and directs every episode, a lot of brilliance there. I don't know if there'll be a season 2. Ricky's pretty famous for, like, whenever he does put a series together, he keeps it short and sweet. Usually no more than like a couple of seasons at the best. Because he's one of those guys that feels, especially over in England, where this happens a lot, we want to get the story told and we want to keep it, the quality of the story's excellent. And the more you drag it out, the more, you're going to start throwing in filler to be able to get to certain places. So, we'll see. I don't know if there'll be a second season. I can imagine where the second season is going to go. So, and if he does do a second season, that probably will be the only other season, because there really wouldn't be many other places he could go with it. So we'll see. But yeah, recommendation. Also, if you get TCM and you get TCM Now, a lot of good movies are starting their series on journalism and movies. So, last few days I've watched All the President's Men and Sweet Smell of Success. Sweet Smell of Success is a movie I'd never seen. Burt Lancaster, Tony Curtis, both playing really shady ass characters. Tony Curtis, really, in my opinion, quite an underrated actor. He was put into a lot of pretty boy roles, but when the dude was required to act, he could act. It's something like when James Colburn accepted the part for the movie Atonement, for which he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor as an alcoholic, abusive father. Up to that point, through most of his career, he was considered kind of lightweight. He didn't do a whole hell of a lot. He was kind of typecast as a character actor of sorts. And I can remember even my parents, they hated him. They were like, oh, he can't act, stuff like that. And so he did Atonement, I think it was in the 90s. And the director approached him and they were talking about the role. And the director was kind of like beating around the bush about what he was expecting from James. And James finally stopped him and he goes, oh, you want me to act, right? He said, I can do that. Most directors don't want me to act, but you give me the chance, I can act. And he acted his way into an Academy Award. So, and it's a chilling, the part he plays is just like, oh my God, I don't want this guy, Dad of the Year. Yeah, he's probably like the nastiest father that's ever lived. Just a mess. So there you go. Journalism and television. I'm waiting for my favorite journalism and television movie, which is Ace in the Hole with Kirk Douglas. Yeah, that was really one of the first movies that portrayed journalists as shady ass characters who are manipulating the story, manipulating circumstances in order to get a story. And Kirk Douglas just nails it. Again, sort of like with the Sweet Smell of Success, where Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis are playing these extremely shady ass dudes. Kirk Douglas is like totally shady as well. I mean, there's no redeeming values in any of these guys. Oh, geez. And you had to love the fact that back in the day when they were like powerhouse actors who kind of had reputations about, the sort of roles they took on the screen. They weren't afraid to like portray themselves as nasty ass characters, and it usually hurt the box office. I know Sweet Smell of Success, they said it bombed because people went to it and they just couldn't believe how nasty the characters were, especially Tony Curtis's character. Vince Gilligan of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul fame has stated that Sweet Smell of Success is his favorite movie, and Tony Curtis says one line right off the bat. They ask him to do something and he goes, cats in the bag, bags in the river. And those were 2 back-to-back episode titles in the first season of Breaking Bad. And I started smiling when I heard him say that, because I was like, oh, Breaking Bad. And then I read later that, yes, Vince Gilligan considers that like his favorite movie. Go figure. Saul Goodman would have been right at home in The Sweet Smell of Success. Oh, man. You got to love it. So let's see. And I'm actually going to work on a short flash fiction. I've got an idea for a flash fiction. I was actually sent a link for a flash fiction contest. First prize is $75, which that's gas for like 3 weeks for me. So, yeah, I'm going to enter it. I got to write a story of 300 words or less. And I've got a pretty good idea what I want to write. It came to me just the other day, so I'm gonna put that together and submit it and see how it goes. Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah. We'll do it. Why not? I got nothing to lose. I mean, I should be able to knock out 300 words in an hour or less. Given that what I know about what I want to write, I can probably write the damn story in a half hour and polish it in another half hour and send it off and just say, here it is. I'm done. So we'll see. And we won't see. I'll actually do it. I'll probably write that today. Monday, I think I'm going to go. I owe it to myself to go see Captain Marvel, which I'm going to do. I really want to see that movie bad, and this may be the only chance I've got to actually see it. So while I have a little bit of money, enough that I can afford a matinee ticket, I think I'm going to go see it. And I'm not really concerned with it. I don't give a shit if it's in 3D. I just want to see the movie. Carol Danvers is one of my favorite characters. So. And apparently they're going to tentpole her Captain Marvel in the future. So there's probably going to be more than one or two Captain Marvel movies, which means at some point they got to show Kamala Khan. And we need our Ms. Marvel. We need our Pakistani Muslim superhero. And she's it. They need to have that as, I would love to see that as one of the end credits for Endgame, after the world gets back to shape and Captain Marvel is revealed, and one of the last things you see is a young Pakistani girl putting up a Captain Marvel poster in her room, and you pull back and you see it's Kamala Khan. Yeah, that would be cool. We need to do that. So. Let's see. Anything else? Did anything interesting happen this week? Oh boy, did it. Yeah. The last time I did this video, it was what was that called? Oh yeah, bout day. Last Saturday was my first bout. After I got off the video, I basically had to deal with the fact that I started getting real nervous. Because yes, it was my first bout. And I was on the bench. Actually started out, I helped with setup. I set up chairs for the VIP section. I brought chairs over for merch table and the charity vendor and all that other stuff. I think I even rolled a table over somewhere and helped them set that up as well. And then I started filming. I filmed the All-Star bout. I had my little helper, and she filmed the last about the last 12 minutes of the All-Star bout and all of the Blitz bout. Including the intro, which I asked her to do. I said, this is my first intro. Would you film it, please? I want it filmed. My first intro ever. And I will post that. If you're reading this off my blog, I will post that. You get to see my intro, my first ever intro. But it was really kind of surreal because I'm not thinking about anything. I've got all my stuff in the back where we change. And I'm wearing my jersey. So all I really had to do was gear up. And then they told us, when there's about 12 minutes left, you need to come to the back and put on your gear so you can get ready. So I'm watching the clock on the wall, and I see we're down to the last 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, well, you go ahead and start filming. The person who was with me, I said, you need to start filming And I'm telling her, you got this. Don't worry about it. You got this. It's gonna go good. And then I went and I ran into a couple of my teammates, and they were both like, "So you ready?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." So we hid behind the benches and walked into the back area where we're allowed to be, and we started gearing up. And we finished just about the time there was like 3 or 4 minutes left on the All-Star game. So like a bunch of us from the Blitz, it's traditional that when the bout ends, people come to the edge of the track and everybody gives like high fives as the teams skate around. You hold out your hand, everybody gives a high fives, and they thank you for coming. You thank teams for playing a good game. And there was like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 of us in gear, in Blitz gear, standing there on the edge of the track, giving high fives to the All-Stars. And then as soon as everyone cleared out, we took the track. It's time for warm-up. We had a full house. I mean, we had so many people there Saturday night that we actually had to delay the start of the game 20 minutes. We were having trouble with one of our card readers. So there was a whole line of people outside waiting to get in, and we asked if we could delay the game. And so we did. We delayed it 20 minutes. And in that time, you're kind of, the All-Stars and everybody were just skating around because you want to stay warmed up. You don't want to sit for too long and then try to get up and start moving around. Everything tends to get a little tight. It does. So, and then we got called over, and we went to our bench, and we're told, we had been given our orders ahead of time as to, you don't yell anything from the bench. You listen to what's being said. I am an alternate for Pack 2, technically, of the Blitz. We have 2 packs. So every time they'd get up and start formulating strategy, I'm listening in. I'm there with them, listening in. And I finally, about 8 jams or so in, I actually go in. It might have been later than that. I would have to go back and check. I go in. And right off the bat, I'm having trouble keeping up. It was a little daunting. The first few jams I went out, I had trouble keeping up. And I almost got goated at one point because I was behind. Toward the end of the night, the last few times I went out, I was actually doing a pretty good job of keeping up. And when we had our last scrimmage, a lot of times I'd be the person that'd go straight to the front. I was like, come on, let's get together. But I got one penalty. I got a forearm penalty. Like, stuck my arm out. I did. I knocked somebody down, and as I knocked them down, I put my... Oh, no, I wasn't. That was during the scrimmage. I actually got a destruction of pack because I skated up too far, and then I skated backwards to get back into the pack. And that's called destruction of pack. Technically speaking, I was the furthest front person in the pack. And so by skating backwards, I damaged the pack. And I knew it the minute our head ref called it. I was just like, okay, I put up my hand, was like, and skated off. And then I had to actually sit through the next jam because the jams were going pretty fast. And I got called on my penalty almost like 3 seconds. I mean, you can actually, when you watch the video, you see me go off and I start skating back, and I'm not even out of frame when they whistle the jam dead. So I go back and I sit on the bench, and they can't start my penalty until the beginning of the next jam. The next jam only lasted 25 seconds. And then they have to stop counting the penalty because you can only do it when the jam is actually running. And I had at that point asked, how many seconds do I have left on my penalty? You're allowed to do that. And the woman said you had 5 seconds. I said, okay. So I kept going like this. I'm technically speaking, you're not supposed to like yell out and communicate with other people. But I was like going like that. I have 5 seconds left. And by the time I got up and was with the pack, they whistled the jam dead. So I was in 8 jams. I saw the statistics, and I was in 8 jams. I didn't really do a lot. I got to play. I made one really good hit, and I do have a photo of it. Somebody got the photo, basically because it was the one time I knocked the jammer out of bounds. She came at me, and I just like got into her hard and pushed her out of bounds, and then just got hung up behind another jammer. Not another jammer, but I got hung up behind a blocker, and I was having a lot of trouble getting around her. We did not win. We lost by 72 points. Happens. So far I haven't won a bout. So, Battle of the Freshies, the Black Betties, we lost all our segments. Lost my first bout. But, everybody was in good spirits when it was all said and done. We played a team that was really, they were really, really, really good. Like almost ours. They felt almost as if they were like all-star quality good. Yeah, they were. So, the fact that we lost by 72 points, I took that as a win. We didn't get blown out, which I have seen happen. There's nothing worse than a 200 or 300 point blowout. I know, I've seen them. And it just it makes you feel so bad. Of course, the worst blowout in history that I've seen, I actually don't think it's the worst blowout, but the worst blowout in history I've seen was last year's World Cup, Canada versus Greece. Greece 9, Canada 795 points. In which they also ran up in the last jam, they ran up 50 points. I mean, come on. At some point, you're just being an asshole about stuff. I know. Hey, we're just going to run up like 50 points on him, eh? Please. You're already beating them by 745 points. Do you have to add insult to injury? Yeah, why not? Oh God, yeah, it was painful to watch that one because Greece just against Canada they had nothing. It was really there's no slaughter rule or anything. If you're losing by about 400 points by halftime, I would just consider saying we're going to forfeit this game. But I guess you can't do that. I guess you could, but you don't want to. So, but we lost by 72 points, and everybody, like I said, everybody was in good spirits. It was like most of the team has only been together for less than a year. My first bout, I got out on the bench and did what I was supposed to do. And then 2 nights later, we had practice. Everybody was sore. They were. A lot of people were sore. And then Wednesday night, we had a scrimmage. And we actually had 3 people from the Blitz who were out, injuries and illness. So, I was definitely going out every other jam because they needed, that's my job. We've got 3 players out. 2 of them are in your pack. You're going out every other jam. You're the alternate. This is what the alternate does. You go out. And I was playing Brace for part of the night, and I switched back off with Peach, my teammate, because that's generally her job. And I said, I just wanted to get a feel for it. And then finally, after I did it like 6 or 7 times, I said, okay, you go back to it, because when we play Reading in a few weeks, that's, that is your job. She even said that. She goes, I need to get back to Brace because that's what I do. And I said, okay, from now on, you take it. I'll take the inside. And we worked that way. But at one point, they were looking like, who wants to jam? Who wants to jam? And I said, I'll be the jammer. I took the jammer painting. Now, I had already gotten one error, one penalty. I did a forearm on somebody. And I need to step up my aggression for jamming. I noticed that I've kind of gotten timid. I don't know why, but my aggression for jamming is not what it should be. So I need to step that up. But anyway, I got a penalty while jamming. I got a cut track, and I knew it was a cut track, because the minute I stepped in and I had both skates inbound, I went, oh, geez. Yeah, I didn't come in behind the teammate. Not my teammate, but I didn't come in behind the other player, and they called cut track. So I'm skating off, and I'm right in front of the penalty box. And I'm skating off, and I'm doing a transition stop. And I've actually done this before, where I just skated right into the box slow, transition stopped, and sat down. This time, I transitioned. I went forwards to backwards, and then I went flying backwards. I think my toe stop caught something. And because we go around, the track itself, the skating floor is all wood. And then there's concrete for the area around the track. So they have these plates in place that you go over that are, transition plates. And I think I caught my toe stop on the transition plate as I was coming back. So what ended up happening was I went flying backwards. And I caught the penalty bench with my back, right about here. Right about here. There's like a sawtooth pattern on my back. And I don't know, maybe I should post a picture, but yeah, there's a sawtooth pattern of bruises and stuff on my back from where I hit the penalty bench. And I hit my arm on the penalty bench too. Right there's the aftermath of that. That's where I hit the penalty bench with my arm. And it hurt. It was scary. Because you're going backwards, you hit the bench. Instantly, I was like in this intense pain, because our bench is like a metal bench. It really is. It doesn't give. And then my right arm went numb. I mean, literally, I could feel my fingers tingling, and then I was losing all sensation in my hand. So I'm like on the floor, like that, because I wasn't so much pain. I really was. I think I commented to somebody else that I would rather take hits from our hardest hitters on the All-Star than what happened with that. So I laid on the floor. They whistled everything dead, and I laid on the floor, and I got examined. One of the things they were examining was they got me on my side, and they were checking my spine to make certain I didn't crack any vertebrae. Because what it ended up happening was I must have turned a little bit as I was falling. And that's really, you have this instinct. They always used to tell us, if you're falling backwards, pick a cheek. Don't try to land straight back on your back. Try to pick a cheek and land on that. And I think just out of instinct, I started turning myself as I started to fall, and I didn't catch it straight on the back. I caught it more on the side, which was good because if I had hit with my spine, I think it would have been bad. In fact, a couple of the players, when I showed up for practice, well, even before we left practice, and then when I showed up on practice on Thursday night, they were like, I was worried you hit your neck. And I said, look, that was the first thing that went through my mind was, oh, shit. You know, this is going to be like the scene from $1 Million Baby where she hits her neck on the stool and, shatters her spinal cord. Yeah, that flashed in my head for like a second, And Schmid, she told me the same thing. She goes, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, God, no, I don't want that. So I have to be a little more careful when I'm going in. But an interesting thing happened. My coach was there, and there was actually a doctor there Wednesday night. And they checked me out, and they said, you're okay. Do you think you have a concussion? I said, my head hurts a little bit. I think, my brain got rattled around a bit, but I don't have a concussion. And I'm sitting there, my skates are off, which, that's standard. It's like we're gonna take your skates off. Anytime somebody gets hurt like that, you take their skates off. That's an indication, you're done. You're done for the night. So you take your skates off. And I started crying. I mean, I started sobbing, and not from pain. I started saying, I feel like I let my team down. And I started crying. And I'm like, I'm the alternate. We have people that are hurt. And I'm supposed to step in and take that spot. And I can't now. I'm hurt. I feel like I have to let the team. You can see I'm getting emotional now, just going back over it. And I kept saying it. I feel like I let the team down. And my coach, Mayhem, she had to tell me, no, don't say this. Don't say this. It's not true. Everybody gets hurt. Everybody has accidents. Like we say in Derby, it's not, if you get hurt, it's when. And, don't ever think you let the team down. And I ended up, like I'm doing now, I ended up crying a couple of times. It took me a while to get calmed down. And it made me realize something that I've never had to actually deal with before. In the past, for quite a long time, I never actually considered myself a competitive person. Part of it was I was never any good at any sports. So I didn't really get into the whole competition thing. I didn't feel like I had to prove myself to anyone. I would just do what was necessary and just keep doing what was necessary. And that was it. And whenever, I'd be like, oh, we're going to have a competition, we're going to do that. And I was always like, I'm not interested. I don't mind playing volleyball, but some people take it to extreme. And there was one time when I was at a company retreat and we decided to play volleyball, and I took a spike right in the face. And I kind of shook that one off. And then, like 5 minutes later, I took another spike in the face from the same guy. And at that point, I said, fuck this. I don't need it. And I just walked off. And they're like, where are you going? I said, for something that's supposed to be like a friendly game of volleyball, people are acting like it's the fucking Olympics. I said, I don't need this shit. I've taken 2 spikes to the face. That's enough. And, I got chided for it. It was like, oh, aren't you, don't you want to play, you wuss, stuff like that. And I said, it doesn't mean that much to me. It doesn't mean that I feel like I got to play kill ball in order to play. I said, and I think I even said at that time, I'm not a competitive person. I'm not. Until I got into roller derby. And the thing is, I'm not competing against other people on my team. I don't really think of it that way. I'm not competing with anyone on my team. And when we were playing New Jersey, I wanted to beat them. And I did what I thought I needed to do. And I understood now I have to step up a little bit more because I wasn't quite hustling as hard as I should have. But when I started crying and I started to beat myself up over the fact that I got injured on the way home, and I always have a lot of time to think on the way home because it's a 40-minute drive, I'm sitting there thinking, you're in competition with yourself. And I really am. I did make the comment to one of my teammates on Monday night. I said, I have to step it up. I have to improve myself in terms of ability in playing. I said, I got on the roster and I liked it. And even though I didn't play a lot, I was still on the bench and I liked it. And we have a bout coming up in tomorrow. We have a bout in 3 weeks, an away bout. I said, I want to be on that roster. I'm not gonna lie. I want to be on that roster. I want to do it again and again and again. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you have to step up your abilities if you're going to do this. It goes back to what we were told early on as tots. Everything at DDR is going to be a test. And part of it is you're testing yourself. You're testing yourself to be better. And I felt like I had failed when I got hurt because of a stupid thing. I'm really pretty good at transition stops, and I cannot understand how I actually did what I did. Because when I had gotten a penalty earlier, I just stopped outside the penalty box and then hopped in and took a seat. I just came in, and I wasn't even coming in real hot. But I felt stupid, and I felt like I was letting my team down because I let myself down. And I'm in competition with myself. And it's one of the things you hear about in roller derby. There's even a mantra of, I know who this person is. I have to beat her. And this person is me. I'm going to be better than her. I'm going to be stronger than her. I'm going to be faster than her. It's me. It's the old me. And that's one of the reasons why, last night, doing workouts, I did all leg work. I did rear leg extensions. I did lying prone leg lifts, and I did side leg lifts. 20 on each leg, 6 sets for each exercise. So that's 120 repetitions per leg 3 times. So 360 repetitions of something with one leg or 720 for both. And I even made the comment, I'm done with leg day. The next time I'm on skates is going to be Monday, and I'm done with leg day. Today I'll do, I may do some plank. I probably should try a plank. My lower abdomen is feeling better. I should probably try like 30-second planks and see how it feels. But like do shoulders and arms. And I've been working my core. And it's amazing. I keep track. I have a spreadsheet and I keep track of my week to week progress. And it's amazing the stuff I've already done in just 3 weeks. So since I made the travel team, 3 weeks of exercise. Because as a member of the travel team, I have mandatory exercises. I have mandatory workouts. And I buy into all of that. Like I said, I take my position as an alternate on the Blitz rather seriously. I have to work as hard as everyone else. I have to stay in shape like everyone else. Because, like our scrimmage Wednesday night, I might find myself in a position where it's like, you're going to be the inside person for Pack 2 all night tonight. So get ready for it. And that's what I do. Or you might play pivot, which is why I need to work on my jammer skills, because I kind of suck as a jammer. And I want to play pivot, so one day. But most importantly, I want to be able to show my teammates and show coaching that I do deserve a spot on the roster. But they're not just going to give it to me. And I know that. I know that if I don't make the roster, it's not a sign that I'm a horrible player. It just means that our coaches put the best people on the team for that bout. And I didn't make the cut. And that's just it. That's all there is to it. I didn't make the cut. It doesn't mean I'm any worse or better than anyone else on that roster. It just means this time you just didn't make the cut. And that's fine. Because that's going to happen. I'm an alternate. I'm not one of the regular players. So in order to show that I could be one of the regular players, I have to work harder. I have to build up my hustle. I have to work on my blocking. I have to work on getting into position. I have to work on stops. It's constantly working, which is why I say I'm in competition with myself to get better. And I'm not going to blame anyone for my failings. If anyone's to be blamed for stuff that I don't do, it's me. I know what's expected of me. And let me tell you, practice Monday night, we did one of the hardest drills, seriously, that I have ever undertaken. And I kept up. Everybody kept up. In fact, we were even told after it was done, everyone gave 100% tonight. I'm really pleased to see that. Everyone gave 100%. And it was a tough drill. I got a core workout that night. I think that's one of the reasons why my lower abdomen hurts so much, has been hurting so much, is I got a hell of a core workout that night. And it's one of the things that Deadpool told me. She goes, work on your core. Get your core solid. You're going to need it. And yeah, she wasn't kidding. And one of the other things I noticed was for the first couple of times in the Wednesday scrimmage, I actually hit the jammer out a couple of times. I would rush in from the inside and hit the jammer out before she could break free of the pack, which if you do it right, then you can run her back. Unfortunately, I didn't do it right. And every time I hit the jammer, I fell down, which you take yourself out of play when that happens. When you take yourself out of play, all the jammer has to do is if she gets back up on her feet before you do, she just takes off. Yep. And I was talking to Kiss, Bang Bang, one of the jammers in Pack 2, who was one of the jammers I hit out. And I told her, I said, I know what I did wrong. I said, I didn't lead through with the hit. See, when you hit somebody, it's like, here's the person you're hitting, here's you. And you're supposed to come in and take their spot. You literally are just pushing them out of the way and you're taking their area. And that's what you're supposed to do. I have my little pinky sitting in. You're supposed to come in and, jammer's here, and you're supposed to just like, you got my spot. You're in my spot. I'm taking it. And you knock them out of the way. You have to push through them. Like if there was an imaginary jammer there, you would just like go through the space. Well, they're not an imaginary jammer. So when you hit them, you're knocking them out of that space, and then you end up where they were at. The thing I was doing is I was coming in, and as I would get close, I would then lean in with my shoulder and hit. And even though I knew I was delivering a solid hit, when you do that, you're leaning over so far. You're way out of balance for what you're trying to do. And because you're so out of balance, you go down. Because you've hit and your momentum is still carrying you forward in the upper half of your body, but the lower half of your body is kind of stopped. So you just go right over. And I said, I have to really practice to follow through with the hit. I said, that's been my biggest problem. And part of it is I've been locking skates when I hit people. And I have to learn to get my body in there more, kind of lean out with my whole body, but keep going into the person. And then snap away, stop, and run them back. I've done it in practice. I've done it in practice well. Although it seems like of late, I've been kind of getting hesitant on the hits. And so I need to step up again. I need to step up my aggression for hitting. It's like all of a sudden I become hesitant. And I don't want to be that. Because that'll get seen. So, yeah, I know what I'm doing wrong. I just have to do it right. And it's that simple. You compete with yourself. You don't compete with other people. You compete with yourself. And in competing with yourself, you improve yourself. The idea is you beat the old you. Next year, I want to be a regular player on the Blitz. I want to get better so that I can go out every other jam if I have to. This year, it's all about you're on the team, improve. Learn how to improve yourself. Now that you're on the team. And it's one of the really good things because I am working with the same people constantly. So I'm picking up those things. But that's what it's all about. It's right now, it's all about you're learning to improve yourself. And next year, we'll see. Next year, I'm hoping it'll be like you're going to be one of our regulars. That's my hope for next year. Because come what may, I'm definitely going to stay around. If I can pay off my bills and I have a place to live and my car is drivable, yes, I will still be with DDR next year. And I hope I still have a spot on. I shouldn't say I hope I have a spot on the travel team. You get a spot on the travel team by you earn that spot on the travel team. No one's going to give it to me. It's something I got to earn. And so it's something I have to work for. And that's something I'm going to do this year, is work on my skills so that when next year rolls around and they say, who wants to try out for the travel team? I'm going to post, I'm trying out for the Blitz again. And this time I hope to make a regular player. We'll see. Now, it used to be that I would cry because things were too hard. And I felt I couldn't do them. This was the first time I cried because I felt like I had let people down. Not because of an inability on my behalf to do something, but because I felt like I wasn't doing my job. And it's not true. I was doing my job. Like I said, everybody gets hurt. You know, that's what my coach said, and Coach Mayhem. She's like, everybody gets hurt. I can't, it happens. And the one thing I did do is I left it on the track. When it was all said and done, I didn't dwell on it. I didn't dwell on the mistake. It was just like, it happened, move on. And I have. In fact, I was even told to sit down. I came back in and I said, I think I can come back in. Is it okay if I re-gear? And she goes, yeah. And I re-geared, and the moment I stood up, I went, oh, like that, because it hurt to stand up. And one of my teammates, Mel Razor, who's also a coach, she just was standing next to me, and she turned and she looked at me and she goes, sit down. Don't push yourself. And I was like, okay. And I did. I sat down and I completely de-geared. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to push myself. You're right. Listen to what your body is saying. Listen to what coaching is telling you. Listen to what the players are telling you. And if they're telling you, hey, you need to sit down and rest and de-gear and all this other stuff, listen to them, because it's true. It's probably really true. Okay, well, hour and 3 minutes. Whee! Sitting back here casually in my camp chair, sipping on my water. So I have things to do this week. I have a lot of things to do this week, actually. I've got a busy week, so we'll see what happens. I always keep saying it. We'll see what happens. Anything with me is we'll see what happens. Because it's like day to day. What's going to happen? I don't know. Shit's going to blow up? I don't know. We'll see. Okay, everybody, take care. If I'm here next week, I'm here next week. I'll see you around. Bye.